News first in the morning right here and anytime on Twitter at NCity.
Our good friend Naz has just walked down the hallway from World FM to join us today. As always, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me again.
Now, well, it's always fun having you on. Now, we oftentimes, we have a lot of different films. Last year, been the one was about the wedding and different ones. This one is a little bit a heavier topic today as far as the movie, and I'm going to try to pronounce it. It's Begum Jan.
Begum Jan, you're very close. Oh my God, you're going to become a Hindi expert. And then we're going to travel to India and you're going to be talking and I'm going to remain silent.
Bollywood expert. I'll be able to go and talk about all the Bollywood movies. So this one's coming out soon. This was actually coming to Edmonton. But this is a kind of a difficult period in South Asia. Maybe we'll have to cue up what this is all about.
Sure. So this film is called Begum Jan. Like you said, it releases April 14th. And it's about a time known as partition, which is when India and Pakistan separated from each other. So just to tell you a little bit about what life was like before partition, what we called at that time British India was a beautiful place to live, an amazing place. You know, it was very liberal, very tolerant, very progressive, very modern, and very cosmopolitan. And basically what happened there is that, you know, all faiths, Sikhs, Muslims, Hindus, all existed together in harmony. And they were each other's friends, but they were also family. And I'll give you the example of my own personal name. My last name is Uppal, as many of you know, because it shows up on the screen. But Uppal is actually a tribe where a lot of people are mixed. Like, it's a mixed tribe, basically, is what I'm trying to say. So people of any faith can exist under this last name. So you can have Sikhs under this last name, Muslims under this last name, Hindus under this last name, and that was just an example of how modern this part of the world was before partition existed.
So what year are we talking about, roughly?
So partition happened about 1947.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you have some photos, clips of photos of what happened when partition, after it was made, I guess, if the decision was made.
Yeah. So basically what happened was, the idea was that the Hindus in British India weren't giving the Muslims of British India their rights. So a plan was drafted up where the different faiths would have their own parts of land. So, but that didn't happen. What basically happened was everything that they drafted up in the plan, none of it came true, and there was a lot of confusion in this part of the world. So what happened was, as you can see from these photos, the piece of the area was completely destroyed. Everyone suffered, but I think the provinces along the border suffered the most, and especially Punjab, because Punjab was divided into two parts. One part was given to Pakistan, the other part was given to India, and people lost homes, they lost family members, they lost their lives. People with disabilities were kind of left there because it was very hard to help them travel. Another thing that happened was that people left with the clothes on their back. So basically what they did is they put a lock on the house with all their belongings in it and they fled. And this was the norm at this time. And basically also what happened was this part of the world, Pakistan, the people from what was Pakistan at that time moved to the India side. The people from what was India at that time moved to Pakistan side. And this became the largest mass migration of human people in history. And it was of 10 million people. It was also the largest displacement of refugees in history.
Unreal. Well, that is an unreal. So this movie kind of follows that story. It's come to theaters here in Canada, actually. You can see it. So what is the storyline for this movie that runs along this?
Okay,
this story.
So the film does run along this period of time, and at this period of time there were a lot of people there were a lot of riots, and over 500,000 people died in these riots. And basically this story is actually a remake of a Bengali film called Raj Kahini, which released in 2015. That film won a national award. Now they're making the Hindi version. Well, they made it the Hindi version. It's releasing on April 14th. And so the storyline that this film really is about these 11 women who are living in a brothel, and they're trying to protect their home. And they're trying to stand up against the politicians who are trying to destroy their home. And that's really what this film is all about, but it's set against the backdrop of what's going on in this part of the world during partition.
All right, so yeah, these 11 women in this brothel. Now, why did the filmmaker choose to take one of the lead actresses on?
So the lead actress is the girl in the front.
Okay.
Her name is Vidya Balan.
Okay.
And Srijit, who's the filmmaker, really wanted her for both versions of the film. He wanted her for the Bengali version, and he also wanted her for the Hindi version. But her dates didn't work for the Bengali version, and they did choose her for the Hindi version. The reason why I think Srijit saw so much in her, and I think me as a viewer and so many other people as a viewer see in her, is because her look, her voice is very different, and also the way she carries herself on film, the way she moves her body on film. And for this particular role, she's playing the madam of this brothel, so she has certain innuendos about herself, and no other actress can take this role on. She is amazing at what she does. We've seen in her past films, and I'm sure everyone will be amazed by her role in this film as well.
All right, so this movie, as I mentioned, is a much more serious one.
Yeah.
We've discussed for many weeks. So, what is the impact you're looking at? Is it deeper to kind of give the next generation understanding of what happened? What is it, 70, 80 years ago?
So I really don't know what the impact will be of this film, because the sentiments are still there. The people are still really upset about what happened during partition. Families were broken, people's lives were completely destroyed. The older generation doesn't want to remember this, because I can tell you that many of them were born at this time. Like my parents' generation, their friends, the people who exist here in Edmonton, at around senior age level, they don't want to remember this because they saw it live. They saw the real thing happen. But I think it's important for us to discuss these things, because the younger generation like me, we have to know where we came from. We don't know a whole lot. I mean, I was born in Canada. I know what my family tells me about the history, but we need to know what was done to our country in the history books, what was done in the history, because we need to better ourselves as a community. And I always say that here, in this part of the world, in Edmonton, Muslims, Hindus, and Sikhs have to absolutely be one. They have to be one family. And I try to do that with my radio shows as well, that we're all one family, and we have to exist that way for sure.
Well, that's very good. I really appreciate it. A different feeling one, but a great look into Bollywood.
I have a little emotion now. But
Thank you much for sharing.
Thank you.
That was very special.
Thank you.
All right, right now we're going to change gears and out again to Bridget Ryan.
All right, guys, we're at a great spot here on 124th Street. Not even a year old. The